I'm Steve Adubato. I'm pleased to introduce for the first time Dr. Brooke Flammang, who is an assistant professor of a Federated department at New Jersey Institute of Technology. It's the Department of Biological Studies combined with Rutgers University. What the heck is a Federated department?
So the Federated Department of Biology between Rutgers Newark and NJIT, it's collaborative between the two departments in order to offer the students a much broader range of courses and research opportunities with faculty.
NJIT and Rutgers collaborating. Amazing.
They're right across the street. It's great.
Higher ed cooperation, we love it. We need more of it.
It can happen.
But also you have a PhD from Harvard?
I do.
And you're not impressed with mine from Rutgers, are you? You said it off the air. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Now, I have to tell you something. You said that your research involves sharks, lasers, and robots, the trifecta of nerds. What?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yeah. I've done a lot of work looking at how sharks swim and other fishes, how they swim. And to do that, we have them swimming in this big tank, which is kind of like a treadmill for fish. The water goes around, and they swim in one spot. And in the water, we have little particles, and we shoot lasers at the particles to light them up. And then we track them with high-speed video, and that tells us about the thrust that's being produced by these swimming things.
Why do we care?
Well, the robots is part of the reason that we care. We can learn a lot of things from biology about how they deal with physics in the real world, and then use those in some of our man-made designs. It saves us the step of reinventing the way things work in nature. If we can learn from natural organisms, figure out how they do all the cool things that they do that make them individual, make them avoid getting eaten, make them better at finding food. And when we learn those techniques, we can usually apply those to a lot of robotic designs because physics is the same everywhere on the planet.
So I want to be clear, as we watch some of this video, understanding more about how fish function in water helps us understand how to use robots in water?
Absolutely.
And then has the potential of what?
Well, it depends how far your imagination can take you. So
your imagination is the thing that's more interesting. Go ahead.
So some of the things that we're interested in is I'm using with that fish particular robot that you saw, is we're looking at creating a completely autonomous underwater vehicle. That's what that was, is an unmanned submersible. It's fairly small. Something like that you can attach a lot of sensors to, put into a harbor, let it patrol. If it runs into something, it's highly maneuverable. It has a program control to be able to get out of tight spaces, turn around, and then sense things and send that information back to some central computer for people who are interested in that information.
Let's talk about who's interested. I asked you why would we care. Now I'm going to ask you who cares.
Well, the environmental protective agencies are very interested. The Navy, of course, is very interested.
The Navy?
A lot of DOD interest in these
Department
sorts
of Defense.
Yep.
Stupid question. Why?
Why? Well, anytime that you can have something that performs better, faster, and you can mass produce things, like there's been a lot of interest in making very small, lightweight robots that are very cheap to manufacture, and you can send them out in order to gather information in areas, and you don't care if you lose them. So if you're sending them into hostile areas, you're not worried about getting those things back.
How are your students involved in this research?
Well, my students can get involved in a number of ways. I have graduate students, of course, who are getting their own PhD in training, and then also undergraduates who are interested can come into the lab. And depending on their skill expertise and the time that they have available, they can get involved as heavily as they want to. I've had students who come in for a few hours a week, help with taking care of any sort of animals that we study their swimming of. I have students that have actually done independent research, and I've had some student co-authors on scientific papers as well.
Curious about this. When did you know that you were fascinated by biology, but particularly fish?
So actually, when I was 10 years old, I came home and I told my parents that I was going to be a marine biologist.
No, you didn't.
And everybody laughed.
No,
yes.
You're just doing that for TV right now.
I'm completely serious. Yep. I got scuba certified when I was 12.
Scuba certified?
Yep.
Where do you do that? Where'd you grow up? In New Jersey?
Connecticut.
Oh, sorry.
That's right.
So you're accessible to water, you get scuba certified, and then you're off to Harvard? Right.
Eventually. It was a long way there, actually. So I actually came to New Jersey for my undergraduate degree. I went to Fairleigh Dickinson in Madison.
All right.
And I got a bachelor's degree in marine biology there. And then I worked doing some dive rescue for a period of time, became an EMT and then a paramedic, and then went to California and got my master's degree. and then ended up at Harvard for my PhD and then for my postdoc. And although it's a very nonlinear path, it actually ended up all being very important for the work that I do.
Why?
All those surgical skills and medical techniques that I gained as a paramedic became very important for me when I start to outfit animals with sensors in order to be able to track what it is that they're doing when I have them swimming in my tank. So I use a lot of those techniques. I have to put them under anesthesia temporarily, attach the sensors, revive them, take care of them, and then watch them perform in the water. And a lot of those skills are very much the same.
Curious about something. Sharks. Most of us lay people are just afraid of them. We don't understand them. We try to stay away from them. Tell us one thing about sharks that you've learned in your research that would surprise the rest of us who don't even want to talk about them or think about them.
Sure, absolutely. One big thing that
we don't want to think about Sharknado either, but go ahead.
Well, I have two things to share, actually. In the field, I've noticed being around sharks and swimming around sharks that for the most part
You actually swim around them? You're in there with them?
Sometimes, not in a long time, but now I do mostly field lab work, but it has happened. And they're largely uninterested in what it is that we're doing. The majority of sharks are actually under 4 feet long. If you look at all of the species of sharks, there's very few actually very large sharks. One of the very interesting things about sharks is that they swim so much differently than all of the other 30,000 some odd species of fish that we know of. So sharks have a very stiff body, and they don't have the flexible fins that you see on a lot of other fishes, and especially in the tail. And so the tail of the shark has a muscle, a specialized red muscle.
Is that what we're looking at right now?
Yeah, you're looking at right now a bonnet head shark, which is a relative of a hammerhead. You're looking at it from underneath as it's swimming in a flow tank. So this is a shark swimming in that treadmill. And it's captured at high-speed video, but slowed down where you're watching it here. And the really interesting about the shark tail is that they stiffen this muscle in their tail, and it causes more thrust to be created than if it were more of a limp, flexible tail going back and forth. So in that way, sharks can create continuous thrust, but most other fishes, there's a pause, and so they're not as fast.
One more fish question. SeaWorld, your research.
Yep.
Talk about it.
So my interactions with SeaWorld was that they have in Discovery Cove, which is a big area where you can snorkel, they have a lot of fish in there, and in particular, they have one area with a separate glass tank where they have 2 very large remoras. And remoras are a fish that I've been interested in for some time. They have on the back of their head, instead of a fin that's normal to most other fishes, they have evolved that into a suction disc. Remoras use that suction disc to stick onto whales and sharks and marlin, submarines, the occasional diver, and hang on in order to catch food that's going by. They may even use it as a way of meeting other remoras in the open ocean. So what's really interesting to us is how do they have this underwater adhesive pad, especially when they're on a whale. They're experiencing huge amounts of drag as this animal is going really fast up and down through large, deep excursions, changing pressure and temperature. We don't currently have any technology that would have that sort of same sticking ability. And so what we're really interested in is learning how these fish stick so well to other things. With SeaWorld, it was wonderful because they have these very large, healthy remora there that just stick to the glass. And so we were able to get some incredible video footage of the disc from the other side of the glass as they were stuck, and do a lot of mathematical analysis to try and look at very fine elements you normally can't see with the naked eye, to look to see how the remoras were adjusting the parts of their disc in order to maintain that adhesion for a long time.
Man, do you love your work.
I love it very much.
I can see it.
I do.
Dr. Brooke Flammang, and you are assistant professor, Federated Department of Biological Science, New Jersey Institute of Technology. I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Great, thank you.
Great stuff. We learned a lot.
Thanks.
Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this. That's fascinating.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Fidelco Group, Investors Bank, New Jersey Natural Gas, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey Sharing Network, Verizon Communications, and by the New Jersey Education Association. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.